this Friday, July 7th, 2017, 8th year of Chungi, 2nd, 5th month, 14th day by the heavenly calendar. I am your host, Hyungjae Sean Moon, second king of Cheonilgung, broadcasting live from the Cheonilgung Palace on this rainy morning. Let's go to Tim for the details of the AccuWeather forecast. Tim.
Yes, a soft rain is falling on the Cheonilgung Palace this morning.
A soft rain.
Yes, it's a very soft rain. And the forecast is for the rain to continue to about late morning, perhaps close to noon. And then after that, it should turn cloudy, and then eventually the sun will come out, we predict. And, you know, it's going to get up to 81 today. And this year we've really had a lot of pleasant weather.
81.
Yes, the low. Usually the highs have been in the low 80s. And next week we may get into the low 90s for one day or so, but pretty much I think we're going to go the rest of the summer pretty comfortable temperatures.
Well, that's good news. I like comfortable temperatures this summer. I was the Colorado Rocky Mountains after we left them because it's so dry and arid, and we came back here. We could see how lush the forests were. Mm-hmm. And there's actually some healthy humidity in the air, so you're not cracking everywhere. Like you crack everywhere there, where your skin, your face, your nose, because everything's so dry. But of course, if it gets in the 90s and 100s, that's not such a wonderful humidity level. Okay.
There are no triple digits in the forecast.
Okay, well that's good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And today we'll have a high of 81.
Yes.
So it won't be terrible. It won't be too bad. At least it'll be raining a little bit. Bring that freshness, bring that cool after the rain smell.
Yes.
That's always a beautiful thing. There's like an incredible moisture in the air after the rains.
And maybe even a rainbow. We saw many rainbows while you were away in Colorado.
Maybe a rainbow.
Yes, we saw.
Who knows? There you go.
We saw double rainbows. We saw all sorts of rainbows.
There's some mystery this Friday, July 7th, in the Cheonilgung Palace. What can I say? Thank you, Tim, for that brief report on the AccuWeather forecast. Let's now go to our Rima today. And look at this. We are in 2 Tim.
Ah. Hello.
We are in 2 Timothy, and we are in chapter 2 and verse 14. This is a section of approved and disapproved workers. Very interesting chapter. 14. Remind them of these things. This is Paul speaking, of course. Remind them of these things, charging them before the Lord not to strive about words to no profit, to the ruin of the hearers. Be diligent to present yourself approved to God, a worker who does not need to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. But shun profane and idle babblings, for they will increase to more ungodliness, and their message will spread like cancer. Hymenaeus and Philetus are of this sort, who have strayed concerning the truth, saying that the resurrection is already past, and they overthrow the faith of some. Nevertheless, the solid foundation of God stands, having this seal: the Lord knows those who are his. And let everyone who names the name of Christ depart from iniquity. I want to stop there, but this other section is so good. Verse 20, but in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and clay, some for honor and some for dishonor. Therefore, if anyone cleanses himself from the latter, he will be a vessel for honor, sanctified and useful for the master, prepared for every good work. Flee also youthful lusts, but pursue righteousness, faith, love, peace with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. But avoid foolish and ignorant disputes, knowing that they generate strife. And a servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but be gentle to all, able to teach, patient in humility, correcting those who are in opposition, if God perhaps will grant them repentance, so that they may know the truth, and that they may come to their senses and escape the snare of the devil, having been taken captive by him to do his will. Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. A lot to unpack there. Paul is here, interesting chapter because he actually mentions two people who are, he says their message is spreading like cancer. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
I should mention like that. Hymenaeus and Philetus are forever enshrined
Yes. I'm sure there's squirming in the
scripture.
scripture.
In the scripture for those who have strayed concerning the truth, saying that the resurrection is already past. And they overthrow the faith of some. And nevertheless, the solid foundation of God stands, having this seal. Now, obviously, Paul is talking about when there are heresies within the church, it is important to confront them and to bring them to the open, to actually name them and to bring those people who are bringing heresies to the forefront by name, as he does in Philetus. With Philetus and Hymenaeus. Now, at the same time, he also talks in this whole section about not gossiping and doing idle babblings, and or later on, not to quarrel and have foolish and ignorant disputes. In other words, you must choose your disputes wisely. Christians are not to just quarrel at every instant they can, but to be able to choose their battles wisely. Obviously, dividing truth from good from evil requires a fight. Obviously, Hymenaeus and Philetus are in a fight with Paul and the people there under Timothy. So there are times to battle. And there are times to just let it go. This is one of the most important and overlooked facets of leadership. Now you have one extreme which says, fight at all costs. You have another extreme that said, let everything go, like Buddhism says, let everything go. And it's definitely not in those extremes. Every leader has to create a culture. And every leader has to create an atmosphere for their organization. It's called organizational culture. What are you pursuing? What is the direction? What is the mission? What is the purpose? How is it that you treat one another? And all eyes go to the leader. It's kind of like, even in a household, all eyes go to the daddy. Is the daddy strong, honest, will tell you if you're bullcrapping, but at the same time does that in love, and is loving and kind, compassionate. So even if you reprimand the kids when they deserve it, they know that it's coming not from anger or emotionalism or overreacting, but it's coming from a judicious and strategic, or I don't know, maybe a better word, surgical perspective. Very hard to find to follow somebody who just acts on emotional whims or just acts based on emotion. That's not to say that you can't get emotional, but you're not controlled by your emotions. You see, that's the problem. Here, Paul is instructing Timothy to be able to discern what types of fights that he will engage in as a leader. You have to get in sometimes in a fight, and sometimes you don't get in a fight. Just like a daddy. Sometimes you get in between the kids that are fighting, and sometimes you let them duke it out. Sometimes it is more wise to let them duke it out. Sometimes it is not wise to let them duke it out. The situation will determine the response. The stimulus will determine the response. When we raise our children, for example, when they're young and trying to push their boundaries, if they get a point that which is deemed to be too much, then of course daddy will step in. But up to that point, I'll let them go. Sometimes in their mind, let them go way beyond what they thought they can get away with. Because then they themselves condemn themselves and realize that they went too far. But on the other hand, you can't just let them just go all the way out and completely destroy your authority as a parent, as a daddy or a mommy. One thing I always coached the Queen on was don't destroy your own authority. Women, you have a tendency to destroy your own authority because you like to solve issues by verbalizing. And when you raise children and you want to verbalize to kids who can't understand you at 3, 4, 5 years old, you end up nagging. And when you end up nagging, in your mind, you think you're verbalizing. In a child's mind, they can't digest all that verbiage. Especially if they're boys. Now, I understand you girls don't have bad intentions. And it's not like you want to actually oppress and give your children PTSD with your nagging. In your mind, verbalization. But if you are not wary of your context and the level of digestibility for the people you are trying to talk to, namely your children are 3, 4, 5 years old, you will sabotage yourself. And as they grow older, you will have diminished yourself. Oh, it's just mom going on again. Okay, yeah, okay, gotcha. This is what they'll become. Your words will not have weight because you use them too much. Now, how many moms have had that problem? How many mommies, all you mommies out there, come on, be truthful. Put it on the altar. Put it in the comment box. How many of y'all had that problem? I know the Queen had that, but she's open with it. She's open with it. But it's not because you're bad. We understand. It's not because you're bad or stupid or ignorant or immature. Maybe a combination of some of the latter. Okay? We know it's because that's how you sort out your issues as a woman. You must communicate. You must verbalize. Just like Emerson Eggerichs says, for a woman, communication was, why aren't you communicating with me? Why aren't you helping me talk this through and emotionally sort this thing out? Whereas men, when you say communicate, it doesn't mean emotionally sort things out. It means transfer information. So the husband will be like, what are you talking about? We already communicated about it. We already talked about it. It's already over. And she's like, you're not communicating with me. That's because in the man and the woman, communication means a different thing. Isn't that funny? Now, a lot of husbands and wives would have profited if they knew this. That communication does not equal the same thing for boys and girls. It's always a fun topic talking about boys and girls, isn't it? Men and women. It's always a fun topic. Because it's a lively game. It's a lively game. Hey, folks, it's not a crazy game, okay? It's a fun game. You got to have the right attitude about it, okay? Look at the attitude. Look at the king. I have a good attitude about it, okay? I don't condemn the queen because she is a girl and she she behaves and interprets things differently. I see it as a fun game. Which is the reason why she loves me more than you. It's a fun game. You gotta have the right attitude about it. Stop getting all stressed out that your woman doesn't understand or is not communicating in the way that you think communication is. Or vice versa. Look, you may have some troubles, but find little ways to let God mend it. That means change your anxiety into an attitude of amusement. Don't get all flustered when your husband is not communicating with you. I know that's hard. I know it's hard, ladies, because you got those emotions. Your brain is hardwired for those emotions to be settled. But the key is, don't get so flustered. Make some tea or coffee, whatever the beverage of your choice, minus alcohol and those kind of things that Father told you to stay away from. Take a step, it's interesting. Take a step back. The approaches are different too, aren't they? Depending on your emotional makeup. If you realize that you are too emotionalizing things, if you are overly emotionalize things, and every time somebody makes you angry, you emotionalize and you have a tantrum and there's an episode. There's a dramatic episode. Then you have to recognize that. Recognize that's not, Paul talking about here, not profitable. Where's that? It's not profitable. There you go. It's not profitable. If you recognize that about yourself, you can say, hey, every time I recognize I'm over emotionalizing, I'm going to have some tea. You can do that. It's healthy for your body. And the nice thing about tea is that it's very hot. Make a very hot tea, okay? So you have to handle it with care. Where's my cup? You have to handle it with care. Ooh, see, it helps you focus in. Get off of the emotions that are taking you on the roller coaster. And that's hot. Oh my goodness, that's hot. Sip it slow. Sip it slowly. We never know where the Holy Ghost is going to lead us on the Gator Bar. Right there, we never know. Sip it slow. Drink the nutrients that are good for your skin. Polyphenols, antioxidants. Helps you stay young. Sip it slow. Don't scald your tongue or your throat. Take it slow, take it in, and just relax. Be patient. Don't go into the ignorant dispute with your husband, knowing that you're generating strife. Don't quarrel uselessly. Be patient. Now, of course, here we're talking about smaller bumps in the road of marriage, which is normal. It's not weird. Hollywood and these idiots trying to make it weird that you'll have a little quarrel once in a while. That's not weird. That's normal. They want you to raise your expectations so high and believe that it's some kind of Hollywood's, spinning on the beach side all day long. No, when you live with anybody, it's always, you're going to have a little bumps in the road. That's fine. That's part of the character of the journey. No problem with that. All you have to do is just keep moving in the right direction. Have you ever been in a drive and there's this hill and all the kids are in there too? And then you go over the hill and it kind of jumps, the car goes, whoom! That actually adds to the fun of that drive, you understand? I'm not saying don't get addicted to that, because then your marriage will be a roller coaster. Your children have lived under that, who have to live under that, will be in an emotional roller coaster ride all day long. They'll be destroyed. Don't do that. But I'm saying don't be scared of some of the bumps. It's not a problem. It's normal. Bring your gauge of normalcy, not to where the globalists and the centralist political Satanists tell you, which is that everything has to be perfect, otherwise you divorce, which is the reason why they want you to increase the level of divorce. Bring it down to reality, which is, look, you deal with anybody, and you have to live with them in a space, you're gonna bump a little bit sometimes. But this is the good news. As you thrive in your blessed marriage, you'll bump less. In those negative ways, okay? You'll be able to know and read one another so intimately, like Jesus said, you'll become one flesh. Not only sexually, you have a great absolute sex and sexual life, but also you have an emotional, totally emotionally connected. You'll be totally psychologically connected, spiritually connected. How many couples went into the blessed? I mean, some of these blessed families that I see, blessed couples that I see, were so retardedly idealistic. It's ridiculous. They were like, oh, when we got blessed, our children will be perfect and they'll never fall. And then no, they all fall. Oh, you dums. Do you not hear any? It's like they heard a principle like all day long. They even give lectures. Like, oh yes, and when I have children, my children will never fall. Yay! That's not what the principle says. That's what you are emotionalized and want to believe. That's not what the principle says. Everyone has the freedom and responsibility which is there. So the parent, one must guide the children to make responsible decisions. That's where helping and aiding the development of their conscience, which is close to God, but having that not covered up and sullied by the world around them. It is dangerous to be too idealistic. Very true, very true. There's a statement there. What? Who said that? It is a grave danger to be too idealistic. Have hope, yes, but fanciful ideation and fanciful, unrealistic idealism, dangerous. Oh, I think it was somebody at a Nazi concentration camp. It was a general or something. Talked about two types of idealism.
Talking about, I think that was in the Vietnam.
Auschwitz.
Really?
Yes, I believe Auschwitz. Two types of idealism. The guys who survived, the guys who survived had a realistic idealism. I'm sorry, optimism, had a realistic optimism. The people who died in the Auschwitz camps had an unrealistic optimism. What did they do, for example? The people who died said what? I'm going to be free tomorrow! 1 day pass, 10 day pass, 100 days pass, 3 years pass. They're dead. They've lost all hope. They fall into despair. That's unrealistic. One must have an optimistic, ideal seeking view or life, but one must be realistic in one's optimism. That is to say, those people who survived in the concentration camps said, what did they say? They said this. Look at the difference. I don't know when I'll be free. It could be 20 years, 30 years. It could be about when I'm 80. It could be never. I may never leave this place. But I will find a reason to live every day. I will find God in the sunlight that's pouring through or that's peeking through the jail cell walls. Those people survive. You see the difference? Now, how many people in their blessed marriage, which is supposed to be the blessed covenant of God and is supposed to be the place of great fruition and fruitfulness, are idiots saying, I'm going to be happy like every day of the whole marriage. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to so many of my children will never fall and they're going to be perfect and I'm going to be just like on cloud nine. I'm never going to experience this type of happiness. No, your marriage should not be based on that because your emotions go up and down. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. That's even when you're alone too. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. Your emotions cloud your vision. Any martial artist knows this. Emotions cloud your decision-making process. So you must be able to overcome your emotions and have dominion over them, not let them have dominion over you. That's why girls who train real combat arts, who have to actually fight against people, they learn to control their emotions. Better than those who do not train. And controlling one's emotions, that doesn't mean you don't have emotions, but having dominion over the emotions is an extremely important, extraordinarily important part of leadership. Absolutely critically important. There are times where you need to be emotional. There are times when you must have dominion over your emotion. And just because you get emotional sometimes doesn't mean you can't control or don't have dominion over your emotions. I know very high-level leaders who allow themselves to get emotional sometimes because it is important. It is an important heuristic device, that is a teaching tool. Or a tool for teaching. That makes sense? Sometimes I will let my emotions flow natural on the King's Report, even though I usually don't rant and shout and stuff like that. I'm actually very calm normally, as Tim knows. I mean, I trained in monastic training for how many years? I don't rant around. But sometimes I will let my emotions move on the King's Report because the people who are watching, especially sometimes young people are my children too, will not understand the gravitas, the gravity of some of the concepts we're talking about and topics we're talking about unless they have some emotional content. because they're lower level. They haven't trained their mind at a high level yet. So I understand that about media. I understand that about communication, that not everybody has trained to be completely in dominion of their emotions. Not saying I'm perfect at it, but I have a very high level of control over my emotions. That I'm very confident. That's the queen. I'm very confident on that. But that doesn't mean you don't get emotional. It just means, again, those are not controlling you. Because emotions do cloud the vision. Now, emotions are fun. And if you can have a beautiful relationship with your spouse, you can play in the emotional world and you can dance in the emotional world. That's fun. But if you live in the emotional world, that is the playground of where Satan is. 2. He can come in and use your emotions against you, your enemy can. Now, if you're in an intimate, trusting, loving marriage relationship covenant with your spouse, and you both know how to play in that emotional world, then it's beautiful. That's where romance happens. It's fun. Okay, so there is a place for the emotional realm, but problem is, especially you girls, you stay in it. You stay in there all day long. Want to be stimulated emotionally all day long. And if your spouse can't stimulate your emotions, you feel you're being neglected and or you feel you're being unloved. But that's not true. Your husband could love you, be ready to die for you, but you don't recognize that because all you want is an emotional stimulation because you're addicted to Korean dramas and stupid soap operas, which is a false archangelic emotional realm, which makes you a lesser woman and to seek adulterous things. If you're a younger girl, then it's Hollywood and movies and those kind of things. If you're an older girl, then it's soap operas and Korean dramas. The devil knows that girls have a problem with emotional stuff. So he will come after you and hunt you in the emotional realm. He'll sabotage you because your man may not be the most emotion stimulating person at first. But hey, that doesn't mean he'll stay that way. There's a problem a lot of girls make. It doesn't, the person you meet as your husband, if you're expecting him to give you an emotional roller coaster, emotional high, swoop you off your feet like emotionally all the time, and every time you see him you're blushing and you're, oh my gosh, you're flustered. Hey, your expectation way too high. You're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up to be attracted to a wolf who will use you, abuse you, and toss you out and laugh at you as they throw you away and date another girl. You want a steady man who's calm and relaxed. Steady. Who'll love you faithfully. Will love you steadily. Who will be ready to fight for you. These are the principles you want to look for. If you're, of course, preparing for the lesson, okay? But again, you may hear this from your daddy all the time, or from your king all the time, but when you get in that mode where you start having to court somebody, whoa, your emotions kick in, and now you forgot everything. Now that's a challenge. Will you have the clarity of mind to remember these things when you are courting or somebody's courting you? Will you be wise or will you fall into your emotion and become dumb, brain dead, dumb girl? You have to see a man for value. For the value. A man for what he is. What kind of value does this man have? What kind of principles? What kind of honor code? What kind of work ethic? What kind of protective mentality? Will he be faithful to you? Hey, don't you want a faithful husband? You tell me you want some husband that gets you a milk and milk, but he's banging some different chicks on the side? You tell me you want that? Of course your mind says you don't want that, but your emotions tell you you want that. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Your mind, of course, says, no, I would never want that. But then emotionally, when there's a guy like that, you get attracted to him. See that? Why is it so important that the girls are wise? Because civilization will go where you girls go. Civilization will go where the girls go. The girls go towards socialism, the civilization will go towards socialism. In that sense, the girls are the problem and the solution. Satan and God know this. That's why Peace Police, Peace Militia is so important, because in Chanyuguk, the girls will learn responsibility, cause and effect, consequences for behavior, consequences for stupid emotional decisions. Girls who just do ballet, ballet is tough. I know, it's tough to work out and stuff like that. It is. And hard on your feet. But they don't learn to really stress themselves out with somebody trying to kill them. They never experience that. Never. I was telling my niece, Kukjung's first daughter, she's trying to differentiate, saying, I don't like jiu-jitsu, I don't want to, and it's very common. It's very common with our kids. And then the second one saying, wants to differentiate from the first. She doesn't want to be as girly, and she wants to be more of a tough girl tomboy. It's the same pattern every time, okay? Anyways. I told Lele, who's my niece, I said, Lele, you got to train too. All the girls have to train Peace Police, Peace Militia. You got to be able to defend yourself. You have to be able to maximize your ability to protect yourself, to be, quote, harder to kill, harder to maim and hurt. You have to train too. Okay, you're going to train with Samchun. You're going to train with, they call me King Daddy. You're going to train with King Daddy. Because in Korea, you can actually call your uncle like Small Daddy. Or if he's older than your dad, like if he's older brother of your dad, then you call him Big Daddy. Kunappa, Chaganappa, this kind of thing. It's Korean culture, okay? But they call me Wangappa. They call me Wangappa. At least some of them do, like Shinju. He says, hi, Wangappa. I heard that for the first time. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. Anyways, the point is, now when I see Shinle, I tell her, okay, Lele, you gotta train. Now she's getting in her mind. Oh, you gotta train. Gotta be able to defend yourself. Gotta be able to protect and respect what God has given you. Gotta be able to protect your house. Gotta be able to preserve what is valuable. See how it's all connected? That's why Peace Police, Peace Militia is so valuable for society, because the girls also will have to train. Isn't it interesting? I believe it's, what is it? Is it Hungary? Hungary is now going to be requiring all girls to enter the military. All girls, just like Israel. This is now a growing trend throughout the world, as even at the microcosm, all the girls in our community are training, at least the majority of them. Isn't that interesting? Is it Hungary? Anyways, I just saw a picture the other day, all the girls in military outfit. That's very good training. Because girls who don't push their bodies, girls who don't know the limits of their strength, girls who don't know who have never trained with somebody trying to destroy them, are so pathetically weak. I mean, boys too, but girls even more. Because they'll use the feminine card and the woman card and try to get even more kudos for being weaker. Whereas men, you can't really get away with that. unless you're, gay or something like that. Is it Hungary that's doing that? And it's one of the European countries. All the girls now are required to go to the military. Like, for example, the Wonder Woman girl, what's her name? What's her name?
The star of that movie?
Ascot. Anyways, she's an Israeli girl. She had to go to the military. Not that she's tough or anything, but at least she is stronger than a normal girl. She's not a jellyfish. She's actually married to an Orthodox Jew, I believe. She has more conservative views. Naturally. If you train combat arts, you have naturally more conservative views because you learn the values of conservatism. You learn the values of cause and effect. You learn the values that nobody else can do something free for you. You got to earn it. You got to work your booty for it. You can't just have wishful thinking and defeat everybody on the mats. You have to put your ashtray on the freaking grind. You got to work your damn ashtray out, and you got to put the hours in to get better. Otherwise, you're going to get whooped. You learn the values of conservatism. You don't learn the values of liberal, lunatic, commie Marxism. Give me stuff for free, and and just praise me for it all day long. No, you learn how to earn your stripes. Oh, I guess that's where that phrase came from. Earn your stripes. I guess that's a martial arts metaphor, isn't it?
Or a military metaphor, yeah.
Oh, maybe a military. Yeah. Do you earn stripes?
Well, I think, yeah.
Are there stripes in the military? Well, anyways, I know that there is for martial arts. Okay.
The lower ranks, yes.
There are stripes for martial arts. But that's a wonderful thing that the women too are made to train. Now, that means that civilization will have a whole population of women who are more in control of their emotions than if they had not done. They would be just like, oh my goodness, have you seen some of these SJW? Guys, look up SJW cringe compilation. It is ridiculous. SJW cringe compilation. Oh my gosh. I mean, just the biggest bunch of immature, puerile, infantile children that you can see on the planet. For your display on the internet, just type in SJW cringe compilation. These kids believe they're tough, believe they're doing something when they're fighting for Marxism and total population and totalitarian control, destroying people's lives, stealing from people who are actually producing, and being part of a pact of democrats, pretending that they're moral posturing and pretending that they're doing something good when they're stealing all day long. Look how pathetic these SJWs, quote, social, they even try to call themselves warriors when they're not. They're the biggest bunch of pathetic octopuses on the planet. Thank God in Chunaguk, you won't have this kind of arrested development because you'll have to go through the great stresses of fighting and having somebody dominate you, completely dominate you, no matter what you think. You think you got all this, oh, I'm the special one. Oh, I got this special techniques. I'm going to develop it. No, you're not. You're going to get your ashtray whooped. Anybody who does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, will feel it the first day you come in. You will feel dominated. You ain't got no time to be deluded. Do we have a clip of that? All right, they're looking for it. The point is, that's why the Peace Police, Peace Militia is such a valuable asset to society, because it helps the women become realistic and it helps the women learn values of conservatism so they're less susceptible to the temptations and lies of Satan. That doesn't mean they'll be perfect and flawless, no. But they'll be more harder to kill. They'll be harder to take advantage of. They'll be harder to defeat. That doesn't mean they'll be possible defeat. No, some of them will fall, yes. But they will learn the values of hard work, getting beat up, but pushing through, fighting, but not getting emotional about it, not trusting your emotions, but trusting your technique. And we hear that thing in Enter the Dragon by Bruce say, don't they feel it is like a finger pointing to the moon? Bruce Lee know that's bullcrap. Bruce Lee was one of the most rational martial artists. He's, quote, the father of MMA because he strayed away from things that didn't work and he rationally tried to find things that did work, even though his grappling sucked and he would get killed in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Of course, he would be very good because he's super athletic. He would be very good as he trained. Some of his students, like Dan Inosanto, are black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Why? Because they pursued the truth of real martial combat. Empty hands, at least. Even though Dan Inosanto is a master at knife fighting too. Okay, this is beside the point. The point is, okay, here we go. What is it? Is this feminist cringe videos? Okay, go ahead. I've seen this one. This is when they heard that Donald Trump was president. Oh, he's crying. Oh. As if you're some kind of drama queen. Give me a break.
Who did I assault?
You have a different opinion. You assaulted me. You have a different opinion, you son of a bitch.
Look at that. She's just slapping people, assaulting people, dumb idiot.
You just assaulted me with your other opinion. You had a separate opinion than me. You assaulted me, and I get to hit you now.
What the hell kind of crap is that? You do that, you're going to get pepper spray, you little fool. Hey, there's Bill. There's Bill the rapist Clinton smacking his lips, looking at Ivanka and Melania. There's Pee-Pee. What's that called? What's that frog called? Pee-Pee? Pee-Pee the frog? Pepe the frog?
Why you being a dickhead fool? Stop being a dickhead. Why you being a dickhead fool? You just fucking situations. Why you being a dickhead fool? Stop being a dickhead. Why you being a dickhead fool? You're just fucking up situations. Shiny floor, slippery feet.
All right. Anyways, the point is, all right, you got a view of that, okay? The point is, it is critical to have dominion over your emotions. The queen she's very high level master now at having dominion over her emotion, especially when she trains and deals with the children. Very high level now. I don't think there's a lot of women at her level in terms of how she governs as a mom. But of course, she'll be the first one. I'm her teacher. She'd be the first one to tell you she was not like that. She's given her own testimonies. She used to nag the hell out of the boys. And one day she Korean mom, so she whooped them too. Out of anger, emotion. No, I'm sorry, not out of anger. Emotion. Because Korean moms are taught that that's fine, that's normal, and that's loving if you're just a little baby acting emotionally. Beating your children with switches, and they just have to understand that sociologically as love. allowing you to be in a perpetual state of immaturity and infantilism as a woman. Not actually have to deal with your, and of course, what does that lead? It leads to what? Kids who hate you anyways. So many of these dumb Koreans make the same stupid mistake I've seen a million of times. That's what I've told Andy and I've told his emo too. They try to raise their kids like Koreans in America. Trying to be emotional on them. Acting emotional, venting on them. That doesn't work, I've told them a million times. It doesn't work here. Rational emotional control is prized in a civil society. And if your parents can do that for you, sometimes they can't. Doesn't mean they're bad. Doesn't mean they're useless. But if they can do it, if you can do it as a mom and dad, and you can, it's better. Now, that doesn't mean you don't get emotional, or sometimes you have to express your emotions. There are times as a parent, just in terms of pedagogy and as a heuristic device, you have to express your emotional content so the dumb kid realize how serious you are about the issue. I've done that maybe once or twice with our kids, where I purposely emotionalized the episode so that they understand the severity of daddy, because daddy never does that. They know I'm always quite calm when I speak to them, or I'm correcting them. Very in control of my emotions. But there have been a few occasions, especially with the boys, as they're growing and getting bigger, more in teenage level, where they had to step up and become men, from young boys to men. Where that was necessary as a pedagogical tool. But it's not something I do out of lack of control. You understand? Whereas Korean moms and Korean parents are just allowed to just vent with no control on their children. And it drives them nuts. Nuts. I mean, just nuts. It's like living under an unpredictable time bomb in the house. You don't know when that crazy person is going to blow up. But think about it. That's how girls are trained to live with your husband. Then if you do that to your husband, then you are living in a place where you're making a household where your husband doesn't know when the hell you're going to blow up and is living on eggshells around you, and you're not even going to be happy because he's not going to be sexually attractive, because he's going to be scared of tipping off some stupid time bomb. And you're going to be miserable too. So don't create that environment. You don't want to live under some crazy witch, some crazy bitch that's ready to blow off in a time bomb. Don't put your husband under that. Don't put your children under that. You don't want to even live under that. See how that works? I mean, these Korean moms do the same stupid pattern over and over and over and over again. They don't believe me when I tell them you're doing the same stupid pattern. Your kids are going to freaking go crazy and they're going to be nuts. They're going to get into drugs and alcohol and all this stuff to get away from you. They don't believe me. Then they go out and try it on their own and they screw up those damn kids. And after they've created a big mess, oh, the king was right. Stupid idiots. It's not that it's like some breakthrough revelation that I've received. It's just common sense. Nobody wants to live under a ticking time bomb. You don't want to live under a damn ticking time bomb. Yet you are a ticking time bomb to your children. It's just common sense. It's just you're so blinded by your emotionalism that you can't see it. Now, instructing in martial arts and teaching people combat arts has been an incredible tool, and that's why I'm good at keeping calm, even in very emotionalized situations. Because I have to teach people and not get overly frustrated with them when they can't do the stupid thing that I can do so easily. And that's why, for example, I make the boys and the girls who train under me also teach the newer kids, because it helps them learn how to move slow, break things down, make it easier to understand, but not get frustrated at other people when they can't grasp it immediately. Because people have different levels of soaking in information. The point is, thank God for the Peace Police Peace Militia, which none of us really understood when Father was revealing it to the world, but now we can see how valuable it is for society, for young people, for girls, for boys. Also, great preparation for having dominion of your emotions, which will then help you in marriage and in human relations and in leadership. Do you think it's a coincidence that the military forces, every military person has to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Do you think that's a coincidence? You think that's only for self-defense? Of course it is, primarily for self-defense. But you learn so many principles. You learn so many valuable lessons. Why do you think that 90% of the military and law enforcement are conservative? Because you learn the principles of conservatism when you are dealing in the arts of life and death. You can't be liberal with death. You can't be liberal with hurting people. People don't understand this who don't train. You have to be conservative. You have to be judicious. You only have a small window of using it when you have to use it. And you have to make sure you use it properly, otherwise you'll be punished gravely. You have to be conservative with your analysis and your application. That's why 90% of law enforcement and military are conservative, because you learn conservative values when you deal with the arts of life and death. That's what all things Father did. Martial arts, hard combat arts, which he loved. But not only that, hunting, fishing, those are the two sports, the only two sports where you actually have to kill. You have to kill in those two sports, hunting and fishing. You must kill. You must take life. You must exercise dominion over creation. You must exercise that you are not an equal to animals, that you are actually greater than an animal. You must exercise killing. Not that you hunt or fish for the enjoyment of killing, but you must exercise dominion. You must know who you are to be able to kill something. You have to know. That's why people say, of course, it does change you when you have to take something's life and you recognize, wow, I do this. I actually do this every day. It's just that I'm not aware of it. Every time you eat a steak, pig, you just killed something. And don't even get off on the stupid vegetarian. I was vegetarian 6 years. You still killing plants, okay? But in the arts where you have to exercise life and death, fishing and hunting is definitely an aspect of that. Because a lot of military people, when they come back home, they become excellent hunters and fishermen. Why do they do that? Because they're exercising their dominion in a responsible way. That's why people who hunt, fish, do outdoor sports, do hard martial arts, do military or law enforcement training are usually more conservative. I'm not saying there's not any liberal lunatics there. There are. But usually they're conservative. Why? Because in those things, you have to learn how to conserve. You can't just kill off all the deer in a killing spree. You have to conserve. Hence the word conservatism. You see that? When you're fighting, you have to conserve your energy. Hence the word conservatism. You see that? That's why you learn those values. Cause and effect, consequences, earning your stripes, fighting hard, not giving up, don't get too emotional, push through. Learn from qualified people who walk the path before you. You see that? Be humble. You learn these things, which are essential in the free market, essential for leadership, essential for entrepreneurship, essential for your own business, essential for whatever you do. Unless you can get the system to become political Satanists and commie, then you don't need these things. You see that? That's why the weak, leftist, pathetic, liberal lunatics who literally want to engage in theft, murder, thievery, etc., and call it, pretend that it's good, with their little beta male professors, socialist commie professors, have no other way of being honorably successful. So they'll do it by hook and crook. That's like somebody who trains Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and sees some idiot who just gets a black belt because he never trained before, just because he's some kind of king of Saudi Arabia or something like that. Everybody in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community would be angry at that because they have to work their booty off to get even one belt promotion. That is so dishonorable. I've never even heard of that happening in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community. Because you have to earn, you have to prove that you're at a certain level. It's got to be proved in the marketplace. In marriage, in leadership, etc., there are times to what? Pursue righteousness. There are times to step in and battle, but there are times to wait as well. There are times to be patient. There are times to not step in. Times to be bite your tongue, shut your mouth, not say anything, and just keep pressing forward. And let the wake settle behind you. Step up your game. Stand in the presence of God and the kingdom. Challenge your fears. And train with the Peace Police and Peace Militia. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us on the King's Report. back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Friday, July 7th, 2017. I am your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk, here with Tim the Asian Elder. And we just had almost an emergency up here with the rain and open sockets. Somebody left the open sockets out there. So we had to quickly run out, and Andy went out there to run out and cover them up so nobody gets electrocuted this morning. But I'll tell you something, CNN is definitely getting electrocuted with the meme wars that have begun. Let's look at this very interesting clip by Infowars.com. Let's check it out. Volume, we got volume? Dang on it, we got volume? Oh, okay, hold on. How's that? There we go.
You are fake news, sir.
Danya-san! CNN! CNN! Feel the Trump! Oh, you see that? Oh, Trump's got some moves. Oh, Lord. It's Jean-Claude Van Trump. Oh, take that, CNN. Oh, Lord. Oh, that's old school right there. That's a boxing game, old school. What was that, Facebook and Twitter, you said? Oh, Lord. Oh! Here's CNN. Oh, oh Lord. Hey, there's UFC Trump. There's CNN. Yeah, that's right. There's CNN. Give me a break. There you go. The real nature of CNN is coming out.
Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous.
This is juvenile. Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. You are fake news.
I mean, it's just Twilight Zone. What would you call this period we're in right now, Paul?
I'd call it the beginning of the great meme war of summer 2017, Alex. This CNN thing today is just insane. You know that it's got them on the ropes, Alex, because you had Stelter, you had Cuomo, all the big CNN guys responding to James O'Keefe last week during that whole fracas. Today, they're not responding, apart from Cuomo. None of the other CNN bigwigs are saying anything about this. They've obviously been ordered to shut up about it. It is completely embarrassing. It's blown up in their face. The latest is the originator of this Trump meme, which CNN tried to out and threatened to out, basically threatened to blackmail him, threatened to dox him. He's not even the originator of the meme. It's actually turned out to be, by the looks of it, an anonymous guy in Mexico. So even in their complete failure, even in this blowing up in their face, they've identified the wrong person.
But Paul, that's what I said hours ago. I said my instinct is they made all this up, identified a nom de plume, so they could have the person admit they were racist and evil. That was just my gut level. They're such serpents, such liars, such known scumbags. It's not speculation when it's known liars, constantly caught staging, constantly caught with fake news, $100 million lawsuits of Scaramucci, making all this crap up. That's what I said. Because the whole thing stunk of something they just made up. What do you think, Watson?
Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter who it is. They've been caught red-handed. Of course, they wanted to celebrate it as a great victory. Like they had identified this racist, anti-Semite homophobe who Trump had used his tweet, so that they had that whole narrative cooking, completely blown up in their face. They came out with a statement after they rightfully got absolutely rinsed, even by never Trump people, even by leftist media outlets for this. They came out with a statement today, Alex, that said, quote, CNN decided not to publish the name of the Reddit user out of concern for his safety.
Oh.
But that kind of contradicts what they said in the article. In fact, it completely contradicts it when they said, quote, CNN reserves the right to publish his identity. That is a threat of doxing, by the way, should any of that change. What are they talking about when they say, should any of that change? They're talking about, quote, his ugly behavior on social media.
That's right. You better be a good boy forever. We're watching you. We're controlling your political speech, and we'll burn you and make you lose your job if you don't play ball. That's called racketeering. That's called extortion. That's called intimidation. Whoever does the best meme by next week, by next Wednesday, that has Infowars.com included, will get $20,000. Plus, we'll post a lot of the better memes on Infowars.com and on our Twitter and Facebook.
Oh, Blitzer! Oh my goodness. They are so brilliant. I mean, Infowars and the whole crew down there, they're so brilliant. They know how to just mock the tyrants. And he actually does cash prizes too. He's giving $20,000 for the one who creates the best meme.
Yeah, by next Wednesday. Get cracking.
Oh my goodness, that was incredible. Okay, that was a great piece of fun humor. Now, let's go now to President Trump's incredible speech he gave yesterday in Poland. Here are some of the open ceremonies. We'll take a break after the open ceremonies, and we will move on to his speech. Let's take a look. Listen to them, the Polish people chanting Donald Trump and USA. Watch this. He is doing what we told him to be the world president, which the U.S. president by default is, who is fighting for sovereignty. And look, he has a whole nation, another nation, Poland, who is now saying, chanting, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. He is clearly the macrocosmic figure out on the sovereignty God's side. And now the people of Europe now are standing up saying, we don't want any more of this Soviet Europe, EU bureaucrat crap. We want to be free. Here he is at the Kaczynski Square, something like that, where they commemorate the Warsaw Fight, Rebellion.
Warsaw Uprising.
Uprising, where the Polish people fought against the Nazis and drove them out. Poland suffering tremendous, devastating attack by the Nazis. 1 in 5 Poles were killed, apparently under the Nazi regime. I think Trump talks about that in his speech. Absolutely brutalized, the Poles were, by the Nazi regimes. Showing that the super elite are the super racists. Even Jamal was talking about yesterday that the racism against blacks began because the super elite whites were so racist against their own white people, the poor whites, that they wanted them to feel at least better about their lot in life and say, hey, well, at least you're better than the blacks. But it was really based on the own white racism of the super elite whites that hated the poor whites. And you don't even see this in Asia. Lighter skin colored Asians are racist against darker skinned Asians. Did you know that in Asia? There's a lot of racism in Asia. Tons of racism. Korea is an extremely racist nation. They'll say, oh, his skin is so dark. They're so Koreans are so racist. Do they have that in Japan too? Like, oh,
yes, they do.
That skin is black. Very dark skin.
Racism against
That's one of the big secrets that Koreans and Japanese don't want to tell the
Koreans
Westerners.
and Southeast Asians.
They're very racist. Very, very racist. I mean, father is even darker skinned too because he has the sunlight, and I'm in the outdoors a lot, so I'm darker. And it's not like I feel the racism all the time where I go into Korea, but you can see that pale white skinned Asians, they have a little racism towards Southeast Asians who are darker skinned. They're freaking racist. But there's all of that. But anyways, the point is the super elite whites were racist against their own white people, but the poor whites.
Irish.
Yeah, like the Irish and those Eastern Europeans.
And the Southern Europeans.
Thank you very
Southern
much.
Europeans.
My husband and I have enjoyed visiting your beautiful country.
There's
My
Melania
wonderful
Trump,
president
always looking
and Mrs. Duda,
dashing and beautiful
their
in her
warm
Dolce &
welcome
Gabbana.
and their generous hospitality. I had the opportunity to visit the Copernicus Science Center today and found it not only informative but thoughtful in its mission, which is to inspire people to observe, experiment, ask questions, and seek answers. I can think of no better purpose for such a wonderful science center. Thank you to all who were involved in giving us the tour, especially the children who made it such a wonderful experience. As many of you know, a main focus of my husband's presidency is safety and security of the American people. I think as all of us can agree.
Did she say husband?
To live their lives
I guess she's
without fear,
a
no matter
oppressed
what
slave,
they
Tim.
live in.
She said the word husband.
That is my wish for all.
She must be a very.
Thank you again for this wonderful welcome.
She must be
Your very
racist and
special
misogynist
country.
because she
Your
used the word
kindness
husband.
and gracious
By
hospitality
golly, Tim,
will not
she's
be
actually proud of her
forgotten.
husband and standing up for her husband and supporting her husband and respecting his authority as
And
the
now
president of the
it is
United States of
my
America.
honor to introduce to you
My goodness, she said it's an honor to introduce her husband?
Donald.
How
J.
dare she? How dare she? She's not embracing the theology of Wonder Woman? Where Zeus is the creator god, the adulterous Zeus, and Diana is the savior? Now listen to this. Listen to the Polish people. They're chanting Donald Trump. Look at this. The Polish people
Thank you very much.
are chanting Donald Trump. Did you hear that?
The United States has many great diplomats.
He is
but
literally now
there
stepping
is
into his
truly no
role
better
as the
ambassador
world
for
president,
country
pushing
than
for
our
sovereignty
beautiful
against the
First Lady,
political
Melania.
Satanists.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Melania. That was very nice.
Is it 10 minutes yet? Okay.
We've come to your nation
Just
to
a little
deliver
more.
a very important message. America loves Poland, and America loves the Polish people.
All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back after this short break with more on the epic speech compared to Winston Churchill by Virgil by President Donald J. Trump. POTUS 45. We'll be right back after this short break.
H&M Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Carr Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Carr Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Carr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today.
We are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. This July 7th, 2017. I'm your host, Hung Sean Moon, the second king of Chaniguk. Let's get now back to Trump and his incredible speech to the Polish people. Cue that video. Let's go.
Enriched this region, but Polish Americans have also greatly enriched the United States, and I was truly proud to have their support in the 2016 election.
Go Poland! The Czech Republic also giving arms,
It is a
freedom of arms to
profound
their
honor
people.
to stand in this
Go Poland!
this monument
Break away from the EU. Go, go Poland!
uprising, and to address the Polish nation that so many generations have dreamed of. A Poland that is safe, strong, and free.
And free! Europe, look how beautiful. Europe could be so beautiful if it remains on its Christian values and stays free from the stupid globalist, political, Satanist, EU, Soviet, Europe, Bilderberg banker run political bureaucrat system.
Thank you.
Be safe and free.
I sincere, and I mean sincerely, thank both of them, and to Prime Minister Shedwo, a very special thanks also.
There
We
you
are
go. That's
pleased
Poland.
that
Beautiful day in
Former
Poland.
President Lech Walesa, so famous for leading the Solidarity movement, has joined us today also. Thank you. Thank you.
Peace Police, Peace Militia Conference coming up in Switzerland. What an amazing time. The microcosm leading the macro. Micro to the macro.
Polish people for the generosity you have shown
There he is in
in
Europe.
welcoming our soldiers to your country. These soldiers are not only brave defenders of freedom, but also symbols of America's commitment to your security and your place in a strong and democratic Europe. We are proudly joined on stage by American, Polish, British, and Romanian soldiers. Thank you. Thank you. Great job. President Duda and I have just come from an incredibly successful meeting with the leaders participating in the 3 Cs initiative. To the citizens of this great region, America is eager to expand our partnership with you. We welcome stronger ties of trade and commerce as you grow your economies. And we are committed to securing your access to alternate sources of energy.
Yes!
So Poland and its neighbors are never again held hostage to a single supplier of energy.
Bam! Right there. Bam! Talking about being held hostage.
Mr. President, I congratulate you along with the President of Croatia on your leadership of this historic Three Seas Initiative. Thank you. This is my first visit to Central Europe as president, and I am thrilled that it could be right here at this magnificent, beautiful piece of land. It is beautiful. Poland is the geographic heart of Europe, but more importantly, in the Polish people, we see the soul of Europe.
And they had years and decades of communism, so they know how bad and evil that is.
Is great, and your spirit is strong. For 2 centuries, Poland suffered constant and brutal attacks. But while Poland could be invaded and occupied, and its borders even erased from the map, it could never be erased from history or from your hearts. In those dark days, you have lost your land, but you never lost your pride. So it is with this true admiration that I can say today that from the farms and villages of your countryside to the cathedrals and squares of your great cities, Poland lives, Poland prospers, and Poland prevails. Despite every effort to transform you, oppress you, or destroy you, you endured and overcame. You are the proud nation of Copernicus. Think of that. Chopin, St. John Paul II, Poland is a land of great heroes. And you are a people who know the true value of what you defend. The triumph of the Polish spirit over centuries of hardship gives us all hope for a future in which good conquers evil and peace achieves victory over war. For Americans,
Good versus
Poland
evil.
has been a symbol of hope since the beginning of our nation. Polish heroes and American patriots fought side by side in our War of Independence and in many wars that followed.
The Satanists
Our
hate Trump because
soldiers
he's
still
trying to
serve
stop the
together
freaking
today in
wars.
Afghanistan and Iraq.
Which the Bilderberg Group is funding both
enemies
sides, the
of
bankers
all
making
civilization.
tons of money off these wars.
For America's part, we have
He wants
never
to
given
stop
up
the
on
wars.
freedom and independence.
That's why they're trying to kill
as
him.
the right and destiny of the Polish people, and we never, ever will. Our two countries share a special bond forged by unique histories and national characters. It's a fellowship that exists only among people who have fought and bled and died for freedom. The signs of this friendship stand in our nation's capital. Just steps from the White House, we've raised statues of men with names like Pulaski and Kosciuszko. The same is true in Warsaw, where street signs carry the name of George Washington and a monument stands to one of the world's greatest heroes, Ronald Reagan. And so I am here today, not just to visit an old ally, but to hold it up as an example for others who seek freedom and who wish to summon the courage and the will to defend our civilization.
Poland was never on the map under Obama. The liberal lunatics
The story
never
of
highlighted
Is
Poland.
the story of a people who have never lost hope.
Of people who've been oppressed
Who
by
have
communism
never
who don't
been
want to
broken,
throw off the
and who
shackles of
have
the EU
never,
Soviet bloc.
Ever forgotten who they are.
who want to be free and arm their people and leave the totalitarian Bilderberg Davos group. They were also chanting USA. I think they're chanting USA now. But they were chanting Donald Trump and USA. That's also top news on Drudge. They were chanting
Thank
USA.
you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, they're saying
Such
Donald
a
Trump.
great honor.
Donald Trump.
This is a
Donald
nation
Trump.
more than 1,000 years old. Your borders were erased for more than a century and only restored just 1 century ago. In 1920, in the miracle of Vistula, Poland stopped the Soviet army bent on European conquest. Then, 19 years later, in 1939, you were invaded yet again, this time by Nazi Germany from the west and the Soviet Union from the east. That's trouble. That's tough. Under a double occupation, the Polish people endured evils beyond description. The Katyn Forest Massacre, the occupations, the Holocaust, the Warsaw Ghetto, and the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, the destruction of this beautiful capital city, and the deaths of nearly 1 in 5 Polish people.
See that? He mentioned it.
A vibrant Jewish population, the largest in Europe, was reduced to almost nothing after the Nazis systematically murdered millions of Poland's Jewish citizens, along with countless others during that brutal occupation. In the summer of 1944, the Nazi and Soviet armies were preparing for a terrible and bloody battle right here in Warsaw. Amid that hell on earth, the citizens of Poland rose up to defend their homeland. I am deeply honored to be joined on stage today by veterans and heroes of the Warsaw Uprising.
He's really highlighting Poland. It's amazing. A country that wants to leave the EU. He's sending a clear message. He's not highlighting Britain. He's not highlighting France. He's not highlighting any of those globalist countries. Brexit, which has been now stopped by the political
What great
scene.
spirit.
He's
We
highlighting
salute
Poland.
your noble sacrifice, and
That
we
never
pledge
got the
to
spotlight on
always remember
CNN.
your
Never
fight
got the spotlight.
for Poland and for freedom. Thank you.
Because they're a Christian nation that wanted to get away from communism.
This monument reminds us that more than 150,000 Poles died during that desperate struggle to overthrow oppression. From the other side of the river, the Soviet armed forces stopped and waited. They watched as the Nazis ruthlessly destroyed the city, viciously murdering men, women, and children. They tried to destroy this nation forever by shattering its will to survive. But there is a courage and a strength deep in the Polish character that no one could destroy. The Polish martyr, Bishop Michael Kozel, said it well: more horrifying than a defeat of arms is a collapse of the human spirit. Through 4 decades of communist rule, Poland and the other captive nations of Europe
4 decades
endured a brutal campaign to demolish freedom, your faith, your laws, your history, your identity, indeed the very essence of your culture and your humanity. Yet through it all, you never lost that spirit.
Look at that. It's
Your
really Hamid
oppressors
Doming right
tried
there.
to break you,
It's
but
Poland.
Poland could not be
They're showing
broken.
all. You see, they show the crowd. You see that, and they have the American flags there too.
And when the day came on June 2nd, 1979, and 1 million Poles gathered around Victory Square, for their very first Mass with their Polish Pope. That day, every communist in Warsaw must have known that their oppressive system would soon come crashing down. They must have known it at the exact moment during Pope John Paul II's sermon, when 1 million Polish men, women, and children suddenly raised their voices in a single prayer. 1 million Polish people did not ask for wealth. They did not ask for privilege. Instead, 1 million Poles sang 3 simple words. We want God.
God. Did you hear that? He's highlighting, he's forcing the media to highlight that this is a
In those
nation
words,
that wanted God.
Polish people recalled the promise of a better future. They found new courage to face down their oppressors.
In God is my strength.
And they found the words to declare that Poland would be Poland once again.
Where the Holy Spirit is, there is liberty.
Before this incredible crowd, this faithful nation, we can still hear those voices that echo through history. Their message is as true today as ever. The people of Poland, the people of America, and the people of Europe still cry out, we want God. Together
the former symbols of Europe, France,
the Poles,
UK, Spain have all collapsed under their own narcissism and their own stupid secularism. And now have been overtaken by the invasion of radical Islam. But the Poles, he's highlighting them. Strong Christian nation, getting back to the Christian roots, showing their Christian values, showing their Christian ethics, and rise up and stand up against the EU and its bureaucratic totalitarianism.
Impoverish your cities and your souls. And you won. Poland prevailed. Poland will always prevail.
Man, there is a big power shift now in Europe happening. As the U.S. now seeks to increase relations with the countries that are seeking to break away from the totalitarian political Satanism of the Bilderberg Group and Davos Group, Rothschild Group, British monarchy, and God's Saxon's crown. Fake. Fake kings.
You were supported in that victory over communism by a strong alliance of free nations in the West that defied tyranny. Now among the most committed members of the NATO alliance, Poland has resumed its place as a leading nation of a Europe that is strong, whole, and free. A strong Poland is a blessing to the nations of Europe. And they know that.
He's recentering the consciousness of the world to see Europe as centered on Poland, which was freed from communism, doesn't want communism, doesn't want the EU, doesn't want global,
100 years after the
UN,
entry of
doesn't want
forces into
totalitarianism,
World War I,
and it wants Christian values. He's recentering Europe, reframing Europe and its identity as Christian.
And maybe in many ways even
This
stronger.
is tremendous.
This continent no longer confronts the specter of communism. But today we're in the West, and we have to say there are dire threats to our security and to our way of life. You see what's happening out there. They are threats. We will confront them. We will win. But they are threats.
Donald Trump, seriously, Donald Trump. Wow, that's amazing. Man, that's incredible. That is incredible.
We are confronted by another oppressive ideology, one that seeks to export terrorism and extremism all around the globe. America and Europe have suffered one terror attack.
Radical Islamic
after
terrorism.
another.
He's now able to define the enemy, define
We're
it,
gonna get
and
it
to
to
label him, and to be able to be clear what it is. Then you can fight it if you can label and
During a
define it.
historic gathering in Saudi Arabia, I
If it's an
called on the
amorphous,
leaders of more
unnameable
than 50 Muslim
entity, you don't know what the
nations
heck you're
to
fighting. You're fighting a
join
black
together
cloud. You know what the heck you're fighting.
which threatens all of humanity.
Which is why Macron and all these stupid Obamas and the Clintons and all the globalists trying to say, oh, there's no such thing as radical Islamic terrorism.
And their
He's saying there
funding
is.
and
That's what
their
we're going to fight.
networks
We have
and
to
any
destroy
form
it.
of ideological support that they may have. While we will always welcome new citizens who share our values and love our people, our borders will always be closed to terrorism and extremism of any kind.
Define and clarify the enemy. Bring light, shed light on the darkness, so that the enemy becomes apparent, becomes visible. If you have to fight an invisible enemy, you are dead meat. And he is doing the process of defining what are the threats, who are the enemies.
We are fighting hard against radical Islamic
Terrorism, there it is
and
right there.
we will prevail. We cannot accept those who reject our values and who use hatred to justify violence against the innocent. Today, the West is also confronted by the powers that seek to test our will, undermine our confidence, and challenge our interests. To meet new forms of aggression, including propaganda, financial crimes, and cyber warfare, we must adapt our alliance to compete effectively in new ways and on all new battlefields. We urge Russia to cease its destabilizing activities in Ukraine and elsewhere, and its support for hostile regimes, including Syria and Iran, and to instead join the community of responsible nations in our fight against common enemies and in defense of civilization itself. Finally, on both sides of the Atlantic, our citizens are confronted by yet another danger, one firmly within our control. This danger is invisible to some, but familiar to the Poles. The steady creep of government bureaucracy that drains the vitality and wealth of the people.
Bam!
The West
Whoa!
became
Nice.
great, not because of paperwork and regulations, but because people were allowed to chase their dreams and pursue their destinies. Americans, Poles, and nations of Europe value individual freedom and sovereignty. We must work together to confront forces, whether they come from inside or out, from the South or the East, that threaten over time to undermine these values and to erase the bonds of culture, faith, and tradition that make us who we are.
Now he's in the
If left
archangel.
unchecked, these forces will undermine our courage, sap our spirit, and weaken our will to defend ourselves and our societies. But just as our adversaries and enemies of the past learned here in Poland, we know that these forces too are doomed to fail if we want them to fail. And we do indeed want them to fail. They are doomed not only because our alliance is strong, our countries are resilient, and our power is unmatched. Through all of that, you have to say everything is true. Our adversaries, however, are doomed because we will never forget who we are. And if we don't forget who we are, we just can't be beaten. Americans will never forget. The nations of Europe will never forget. We are the fastest and the greatest community. There is nothing like our community of nations. The world has never known anything like our community of nations. We write symphonies. We pursue innovation. We celebrate our ancient heroes, embrace our timeless traditions and customs, and always seek to explore and discover brand new frontiers. We reward brilliance, we strive for excellence, and cherish inspiring works of art that honor God. We treasure the rule of law and protect the right to free speech and free expression. We empower women as pillars of our society and of our success. We put faith and family.
Having a little technical difficulty there. Let's take a short break, and we'll be right back with more of this epic speech by President Donald Trump in Poland. We'll be right back after the short break.
Staring into your eyes makes my heart come alive. Suddenly brought to life when I'm next. Surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead. He's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead. Resurrection somehow. No, I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. Fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. And love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. And love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to bring a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. My God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, he's surely alive. He's living on the inside.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Friday, July 7th, 2017. Let's get back to President Trump's speech in Warsaw, Poland. Let's get back to this.
Expression. We empower women as pillars of our society and of our success. We put faith and family, not government and bureaucracy, at the center of our lives, and we debate everything. We challenge everything. We seek to know everything so that we can better know ourselves. And above all, we value the dignity of every human life, protect the rights of every person, and share the hope of every soul to live in freedom. That is who we are. Those are the priceless ties that bind us together as nations, as allies, and as a civilization. What we have, what we inherited from our, and you know this better than anybody, and you see it today with this incredible group of people. What we've inherited from our ancestors has never existed to this extent before. And if we fail to preserve it, it will never, ever exist again. So we cannot fail. This great community of nations has something else in common. In every one of them, it is the people, not the powerful, who have always formed the foundation of freedom and the cornerstone of our defense. The people have been that foundation here in Poland, as they were right here in Warsaw. And they were the foundation from the very, very beginning in America. Our citizens did not win freedom together, did not survive horrors together, did not face down evil together, only to lose our freedom to a lack of pride and confidence in our values. We did not, and we will not. We will never back down. As long as we know our history, we will know how to build our future. Americans know that a strong alliance of free, sovereign, and independent nations is the best defense for our freedoms and for our interests. That is why my administration has demanded that all members of NATO finally meet their full and fair financial obligation. As a result of this insistence, billions of dollars more have begun to pour into NATO. In fact, people are shocked, but billions and billions of dollars more coming in from countries that, in my opinion, would not have been paying so quickly. To those who would criticize our tough stance, I would point out that the United States has demonstrated, not merely with words, but with its actions, that we stand firmly behind Article 5, the mutual defense commitment. Words are easy, but actions are what matters. And for its own protection, and you know this, everybody knows this, everybody has to know this, Europe must do more. Europe must demonstrate that it believes in its future by investing its money to secure that future. That is why we applaud Poland for its decision to move forward this week on acquiring from the United States the battle-tested Patriot air and missile defense system, the best anywhere in the world. That is also why we salute the Polish people for being one of the NATO countries that has actually achieved the benchmark for investment in our common defense. Thank you, Poland. I must tell you, the example you set is truly magnificent, and we applaud Poland. Thank you. We have to remember that our defense is not just a commitment of money, it is a commitment of will. Because as the Polish experience reminds us, the defense of the West ultimately rests not only on means, but also on the will of its people to prevail and be successful and get what you have to have. The fundamental question of our time is whether the West has the will to survive. Do we have the confidence in our values to defend them at any cost? Do we have enough respect for our citizens to protect our borders? Do we have the desire and the courage to preserve our civilization in the face of those who would subvert and destroy it? We can have the largest economies and the most lethal weapons anywhere on earth. But if we do not have strong families and strong values, then we will be weak and we will not survive. If anyone forgets the critical importance of these things, let them come to one country that never has. Let them come to Poland. And let them come here to Warsaw and learn the story of the Warsaw Uprising. When they do, they should learn about Jerusalem Avenue. In August of 1944, Jerusalem Avenue was one of the main roads running east and west through the city, just as it is today. Control of that road was crucially important to both sides in the battle for Warsaw. The German military wanted it as their most direct route to move troops and to form a very strong front. And for the Polish Home Army, the ability to pass north and south across that street was critical to keep the center of the city and the uprising itself from being split apart and destroyed. Every night, the Poles put up sandbags amid machine gun fire, and it was horrendous fire, to protect a narrow passage across Jerusalem Avenue. Every day, the enemy forces knocked them down again and again and again. Then the Poles dug a trench. Finally, they built a barricade. And the brave Polish fighters began to flow across Jerusalem Avenue. That narrow passageway, just a few feet wide, was the fragile link that kept the uprising alive. Between its walls, a constant stream of citizens and freedom fighters made their perilous sprints. They ran across that street. They ran through that street. They ran under that street, all to defend the city. The far side was several yards away, recalled one young Polish woman named Greta. That mortality and that life was so important to her. In fact, she said, the mortally dangerous sector of the street was soaked in blood. It was the blood of messengers, liaison girls, and couriers. Nazi snipers shot at anybody who crossed. Anybody who crossed, they were being shot at. Their soldiers burned every building on the street, and they used the Poles as human shields for their tanks in their effort to capture Jerusalem Avenue. The enemy never ceased its relentless assault on that small outpost of civilization. And the Poles never ceased its defense. The Jerusalem Avenue passage required constant protection, repair, and reinforcement. But the will of its defenders did not waver, even in the face of death. And to the last days of the uprising, the fragile crossing never, ever failed. It was never, ever forgotten. It was kept open by the Polish people. The memories of those who perished in the Warsaw Uprising cry out across the decades, and few are clearer than the memories of those who died to build and defend the Jerusalem Avenue crossing. Those heroes remind us that the West was saved with the blood of patriots, that each generation must rise up and play their part in its defense. and that every foot of ground and every last inch of civilization is worth defending with your life. Our own fight for the West does not begin on the battlefield. It begins with our minds, our wills, and our souls. Today, the ties that unite our civilization are no less vital and demand no less defense than that bare shred of land on which the hope of Poland once totally rested. Our freedom, our civilization, and our survival depend on these bonds of history, culture, and memory. And today as ever, Poland is in our heart, and its people are in that fight. Just as Poland could not be broken, I declare today for the world to hear that the West will never, ever be broken. Our values will prevail, our people will thrive, and our civilization will triumph. Thank you. So together, let us all fight like the Poles, for family, for freedom, for country, and for God. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the Polish people. God bless our allies. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Boom, what an epic speech by POTUS 4-5, banging it out in Poland, as he is now in Germany, I believe. There he goes. What an epic speech. Evoking God, evoking sovereignty, evoking the West, evoking... And they were just bringing it down to Tucker Carlson with Krugheimer, just briefly breaking it down. Putin to meet face-to-face today with Germany with President Trump and Merkel.
He's also meeting Xi Jinping either today or tomorrow, I'm not sure which.
And Xi Jinping, this is a very important couple of days right
Yes,
now.
very important.
That will be happening. Let's see what these guys are saying on Fox.
It was the best speech he's given. It was very Reagan-esque. I read the we as not just the United States. It was not so much a speech about American exceptionalism. He kept saying, we and you, the Poles, and largely meaning the Europeans, the West. This was a defense of the West. And that's what made it so unusual for Trump. This is the antithesis of his inaugural address, which was about America. He didn't speak about the free world. He spoke about our allies as parasites in that speech. This was a complete overturning of that. This was a return to traditional American universalism, leading the community of nations, meaning NATO, the West, Europe, including, of course, a lot of East Asia, other places as well. And by taking on the mantle of leadership, basically expanding the meaning of Americanism to go beyond our shores, I think it was a huge step and extremely significant.
There's Krugheimer and Tucker breaking that down. Let's go to Ron Paul on the Liberty Report to see Ron Paul breaking this down.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the Liberty Report. With me today is Daniel McAdams. Daniel, good to see you.
Good morning, Dr. Paul.
President's gone. He's overseas. Yes. I wonder who's running the store. I mean, does that mean we're unsafe now? The president's not in the White House.
No, Pence has got it under control.
Oh, Pence will take care of that. It used to be said if the legislature wasn't in charge, that you didn't have to worry. They couldn't write any new laws, but laws are written by the executive branch, by the bureaucrats, by the judicial branch, and it just goes on, and the spending continues, and it's all on autopilot. But the president's there. I'm sure he'll stay in close touch. I'm sure that he'll have that little box with him, and just hope and pray that he never has to use it. But people are starting to talk about the use of force. Whether it's going to be China, whether it's going to be Korea, whether it's going to be over Ukraine. I mean, it goes on, but there's always this threat, but also there's always the negotiations and something good to say about it, and it goes on. But today what we heard was, the first speech of the trip, and he was in Warsaw, and that's a historic place. They suffered tremendously in World War II, and Trump made some points about that, and some of the efforts had to be made to survive both Hitler and Stalin. The country exists, and the big thing was the speech, and I listened to most of it, and the first part seemed, it was general, and it was nothing antagonistic, and it said a lot of flowering things. That's good. Yes, this is all good. But as it went on, I became more discouraged, especially when he brought up the subject of NATO, because NATO, of course, has been a big issue in the campaign as well as what's happened since then. And I'm sure you got a little bit of wind about what he's going to do for NATO. So what really is going to happen? Are we going to see a change in position or just a continuation of what we've had for a long time?
I think the reason, we're paying such attention to the speeches is the day before the historic meeting with Putin tomorrow on the sidelines of the G20 summit. So everyone's kind of wondering how he's going to set the stage. And as you point out, he set the stage with a pretty tough speech, aside from all the flowery history lessons, which I wonder how much he knew about. The main thing that struck me is that there was no new thinking in this speech. It sounded to me like it could have been given 3 years ago by Obama or last month by Hillary. There's nothing new in it. And you mentioned the NATO. I think we have a clip here, just a little bit about what he said about NATO. And the top part is, he's talking about how NATO members are finally paying up. Billions of dollars are pouring in, which of course is not how it's funded at all. But it makes for a good image, I guess. People are shocked. But then the second part is what's interesting. He says, to those who would criticize our tough stand, I would point out the U.S. has demonstrated not merely with words, but with its actions that we stand firmly behind Article 5, the mutual defense commitment. That is key.
Okay, and you used the word new, and I understand exactly what you're saying, compared to policy, the last 5-10 years. But there's something different. I mean, we wouldn't have heard that statement during the campaign because his interpretation of America First is to being internationalists and to run the international programs and have troops everywhere and use a strong fist in order to get people to do what we want. So that is different. And the biggest job we have is to figure this out. But he makes the point along this line that you're talking that he was very critical of Russian destabilization. The Russians were destabilizing everything, but Obama, did the same thing for the guy that we would have expected less of that. Obama did the same thing. Look how aggressive he was in Assad has to go and getting us all involved in Syria. So the party stuff doesn't seem to help us, and campaigning doesn't seem to help us. And it must be very superficially on the minds of the American people because, once they hear something and they go on to the next stage, they're not concerned about, well, he really didn't say that, and we were doing something different. But I found one of the economic issues that came up there that sort of fascinated me because sometimes economics is the driving force, whether it has to do with oil or trade and taxes and this sort of thing. But he promised at his speech this morning in Poland that he wants to help them get less dependent on Russia. So it's all Russia's fault. But Russia, and this was one of the wonderful things about the end of the Cold War. The Russians have natural resources. So it's very natural if the governments would just leave them alone. They have natural resources, and they were able to provide, energy supply, oil and gas, at the cheapest rate they've had. And this has been a blessing for the Russians and a blessing for the Europeans. But now our strategy and our goal of many, and evidently he's convinced some leaders in Europe, I'm not so sure the people, are really gun-ho of saying, we don't like this cheap gas. So Trump's issue is America first. We're going to sell you the gas. And I got to thinking, well, I'm no gas expert, but a little common sense would tell me that having a big fat pipeline going a few hundred miles, from Russia into Europe is a little bit different than us putting liquid natural gas and putting on ships. I don't think we're going to put another pipeline in. And all of a sudden, that's going to be good? I mean, it's bad diplomacy, it's bad economic, it's bad for the consumer, and it's just more antagonism, for this whole situation. That to me makes no sense, but I didn't hear and won't hear too much in the next several days of anybody questioning that. They'll still be dwelling on Russia interfered with our election, Russia interfered, but they're not going to talk about this silly notions on economics.
It's interesting, just before we started, President Putin, who will meet Trump tomorrow, as we pointed out, he had a response to the speech in Poland where he talks about some of these issues. And this is an interesting point that he made. This is a short quote. Protectionism is becoming the norm, while unilateral restrictions on trade and investment, as well as technology transfer, are nothing but masked protectionism. So he's condemning moves like this as really, kind of a semi-masked protectionism.
Yeah, he understands this. So the peace dividend, I think there was a very, very small dividend, but it wasn't based on basic fundamental principles. It was still based on, the planners, the deep state, the people who want to design the world and remake the Middle East and all this stuff. They went out. But common sense would tell us that there are some economic relationships that would be a blessing to everybody, but they're not allowed to operate. Governments don't get in there to protect this. Governments get in there to interrupt it and capture the power and then, blackmail people, intimidate people, and collect taxes to enhance the state. Where if you have markets, what it does, it diminishes the state. And that's a big difference.
Now, Ron Paul, of course, is a famous non-interventionist, and of course he would like Trump to make radical steps away from his negotiating tables and pulling out of NATO, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, he makes some very valid points. Ron Paul is a genius. He's a brilliant statesman. He has a perfect record in terms of being for sovereignty, and the guy is absolutely phenomenal. However, at the same time, we've seen with Trump that he also is a great negotiator. He negotiates the process. He sees it as a working process. He's not flipping, as Krugheimer is saying, on his position on NATO, saying that he used to be parasitical and now he's saying, oh, it's fantastic. No, he's changing the center of how our consciousness connects to Europe. He's pulling us away from the consciousness of France and the UK and the centralized controlled governments. And he's putting the focus of Europe to say, hey, Europe, we as America want to support you if you're more like Poland. We want to do business with you if you're more like Poland. We don't want to isolate you. We don't want you to live separately from us. We want to do fair trade with you. We want to work with you, but we want you to be more like Poland. What he's doing is setting the tone. He's shifting the atmosphere. He's rewarding what he wants to be highlighted as the POTUS and the president of the world, basically. And he's saying, look, Europe, don't follow Macron, don't follow Merkel, don't follow Theresa May, don't follow these globalist Rothschild pocket puppets, don't follow these idiots. We want Europe to be free like Poland. We want you to step away from the EU. We want you to have your own sovereignty. We want you to be proud of your history. We want you to step away from communism. We don't want you to fall into the same traps that the globalists and the political Satanists keep on wanting to put you in so they can ravage, rape you, and resource rape you continuously over time. We want you to be free, and if you're free, we can independently trade with you. We'll make deals and make money together. Now, at the same time, he's trying to also mitigate the attacks on him that, oh, he's in bed with Putin, or he's in bed with the Russians. Russia has been under 70 years of a totalitarian fist of Stalin and communism. They don't want any more of the EU bureaucracy idiocy. They don't want to come under the Rothschilds. They don't want their own freedom. They want their own currency. They want their own trading abilities. They don't want to be under the communist system. They've been there, done that. Trump knows that. But he also knows that all the media is hyping everything he does and says about Russia. So he has to hit them back. At the same time, he's got to hit the globalists. At the same time, he's got to hit the people who are supporting him. He's got to play all these different sides at the same time. And he's got to smack Russia a couple times. But really, it remains to be seen what he will do with Putin. Because now he's going to be meeting with him. And when Putin meets with him, as Putin has showed a lot of reserve and not waging war on America, even though Obama and Hillary has continually tried to lambast him, label him, nationally degrade him and belittle him, nationally threaten Russia. I mean, literally, these people have been trying to coax Putin into war. He's been showing tremendous reserve. So, Trump knows that about him. He knows that a few comments and a few jabs will not hurt him because he's not hitting him with the right cross yet. And he's saying, hey, I'm gonna give this so that CNN and the stupid MSNBC and the stupid mainstream media have less to attack me about, especially now ramping up to the meeting with Putin that is today. And so Trump has to play this entire landmine field. And of course, it would be ideal. It would be wonderful if we could just be non-interventionists and boom, pull out of NATO, boom, pull out of these things. But Trump is also, we've seen him allow things to unfold organically, slowly, and then make the decisions, whether that be on the borders, whether that be on the immigration issues, whether that be on the economy issues, whether it be on whatever issue he pulls into negotiation mode. That means there's a process by which he gives some, takes some, gives some, takes some, gives some, takes some, tries to make a deal that's win-win, but makes a deal that is beneficial to the U.S. Okay, so we understand, of course, how Ron Paul and the libertarian community is, of course, saying, oh, you know, this is non-intervention. We want non-interventionists. We want to pull out everything and anything right now. And oh, he's all more the same. He's not the same. Obama never highlighted Poland, which is a country that's going to be fighting for sovereignty of its people away from the EU. Obama was only hiding countries that were praising the EU and praising the globalist control and praising Angela Merkel and praising German Chancellor as his best friend. Give me a break. This is a huge departure from the general centrality that they placed on centralism. Now Trump is pulling it away to a nation that is trying to break away from them. Now, at the same time, we know Poland, Hungary, we know Czech Republic is also fighting for freedom of arms as well for the people. Poland may be following suit in giving their people the right to bear arms. Hungary, is it Hungary that is making the women now all go into the military?
I couldn't confirm that.
Okay. But anyways, one of the Eastern European countries as well. So he's pulling it off of Western Europe, which is totally under globalist control and is political Satanist control, and he's putting onto Eastern Europe, who has been traditionally more conservative, traditionally in the buffer zone between Islamic invasion, Soviet invasion, and Western Europe. So he is making a big shift. He is making a big change. We'll be right back after the short break, breaking down more of this and more on the King's Report. Stay with us!
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
We are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Friday, July 7th, 2017. I am your host, Young Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. Let's go now to Eric Trump's breakdown of his father, Donald Trump's speech in Warsaw, Poland. Here's Eric. Of course, Eric was awesome. He came, we spent about 2 hours with him, 2 or 3 hours with him. Took a whole view of the factory, Tommy gun warehouse, etc. He actually went to school in Pennsylvania, and he is an avid hunter and outdoorsman and a gun enthusiast, as well as an owner. And one of the favorite pistols that he owns is the Baby Desert Eagle. And who is the owner of the Baby Desert Eagle? Mr. Kook-Jin Moon, Mr. Justin Moon. Eric Trump, here he is on a breakdown of his dad's speech in Poland. Let's take a look at that.
That reception, it was beautiful. I mean, when they were chanting Donald J. Trump, Donald J. Trump, something I'm quite frankly not used to hearing now. Normally you hear President Trump, but it was beautiful. I mean, the amount of people that they had there was just, it was an awesome sight.
Why did your dad decide to go to Poland first for this second foreign trip?
Well, isn't it kind of nice, right? I mean, sometimes these countries get overshadowed, and, you know, the Polish people are amazing. In fact, my mom's Eastern European, and I feel like I really understand kind of the spirit of those countries. I mean, they're hardworking people. They love their country, and sometimes they're overshadowed. And I think it's really nice for him to go
exactly
into a country like
overshadowed.
That has such a great bond with America, that has had such
ignored
a great relationship with America.
Because they don't have globalist values.
You see how excited
and
people
political
are to see
Satanist
the
values.
crowds
They
that
want
were
hard
there.
work and sovereignty.
I just thought it was a really beautiful.
And they don't want Sharia law.
The President spoke. The First Lady Melania Trump spoke, and she said, among other things, people should live without fear. And ultimately, that's the message that your father took to Europe and the world.
To the world on so many fronts. And it was interesting. You were just talking about gas prices a little while ago, and I remember as a little kid, I'd be over in Czechoslovakia, you know, with my mother, with my grandmother, and they did live in fear. They lived in fear of not having gas, not having fuel, not being able to drive a car. I mean, a liter of gas back then was it would. You know, I mean, it was literally, you know, what somebody made in a week. And, you know, to see us exporting fuel over to these countries, to see them, you know, energy independent for the same time, I mean, the possibilities that opens is tremendous. Yeah, my mother grew up in Czechoslovakia, now the Czech Republic, and my grandmother.
The Czech Republic, there it is.
But it's really amazing. It was amazing to see
Melania
how
Trump
that really
and the Czech Republic.
Country, and to see what my father's been doing by releasing
Ivana,
energy
Ivana.
regulations here,
Ivana,
exporting
that's right.
oil. It helps them.
Ivana.
It also helps the United States. I mean, it's a win-win for both people, and I think that's really fantastic.
And I think where's Melania from? Because what happened in Ukraine, the carving up of Georgia, with the Russia showing
that's
their
right, that's
muscle,
right. He's
and
the
Vladimir
Ivana.
Putin saying, you know, I want to
Not
reassert
Ivanka.
the best I can and reconfigure the Soviet empire. What do you think the Polish people think when he hears that? They think, here we go again. You know, Germany one time, the Soviet Union the next, maybe Russia now. But instead, the president shows up and says, oh yeah, we got your back when it comes to LNG. Sure. We got your back when it comes to missile defense. We're giving you a missile defense system.
Slovenia, yeah.
So while you're president, people are pushing your dad,
Okay, anyways,
the
Eastern
president, to be
Europeans.
tougher
Trump has
on
a thing for
Russia.
Eastern European
He
women.
is. He's not doing it with his words. He's doing it with his actions. In Syria, he's doing
They're
it.
so
and he's doing it
overshadowed.
through Europe, also with the bolster of our military presence on the border of most of these European countries.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, I think he's actually doing a great thing to prop up Europe. You're seeing that right there, and I think that's why he has the reaction that he has. I mean, when you have, how many people were in that square? 50,000, 80,000. I mean, it was unbelievable numbers. Right. I mean, obviously people are really proud of this. And it was interesting. Eric Bolling before kind of referred to Russia as a big gas station. I mean, so much of that economy is really based on energy. And they've done a great job over the years for themselves, meaning monopolizing it, right? Where they fed the countries that they wanted energy. And those countries
set up the pipeline and made it almost, they were almost addicted to the Russian gas.
And America hurt ourselves by not exporting energy. Why would we not export energy?
Saudi Arabia, that's why.
Ever. There's no better drillers anywhere in the world.
We're not allowed to drill.
A backroom deal.
We're made to be deindustrialized so that we're made to be poor.
That's what a strong Europe is.
Any nation that does sovereignty is meant to be poor, but in the political Satanist system. They can't have an example of success outside of their system, outside of their banking cartel system.
He really has an understanding of what that means, more so than most Americans, because of his connections.
And he has an understanding of our allies as well. Who are the people who have always stood next to the United States of America? You know, who have always helped us further our interests, and who have we always helped further their interests? And that's why I thought going to Poland, a country that a president hasn't visited in a very long time, a country that some people might even think as off the radar, right?
Sure.
Was so relevant. It was so relevant. It was such a beautiful symbol to so many of these countries, which are, they work hard, they fight hard, they've been great friends, they've been great allies. Now, their economies might not be as large, they might not be as powerful from a military standpoint, but they have been great friends to the United States, and that should be applauded.
And you know what they have done that a lot of other nations in Europe have not done, and that is they pay at least 2% of their GDP to NATO. And the President of the United States, your father a while back, said everybody's got to do that. He did say toward the conclusion of the speech in Warsaw, he said Europe must do more to pay for world security, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, my father will be the greatest ally in the world to Europe. Europe and the United States have the same values. We have, largely the same beliefs. We are common people. We've always worked so well together. But there is, an element of abuse that we've seen throughout the years where people didn't contribute their fair share, where they relied on the United States.
And we didn't make them.
No, and that's very sad. And I think it's really nice when my father goes there and really gives somebody credit for doing the right thing. And that's what he did on the stage. Instead of scolding somebody, he really rewarded them for doing the right thing, contributing their fair share to NATO. And I think that sends a great sign.
Fair play is rewarded.
Who haven't been.
Under President Donald Trump.
Made them, and that's
not cheating and abusing,
to tell you the truth,
and exploiting.
But America shouldn't have the burden, or carry, that.
Not fair.
No, it's not fair.
So what's the pressure in the next leg? Today, the president, in a little while, will hop on Marine One, then to Air Force One, then go over to Hamburg, Germany. He'll have a one-on-one with Angela Merkel, and of course we know about the Russians on Friday.
Total opposite totalitarian control regime. Angela Merkel meeting today.
Because they say this America First attitude.
Xi Jinping, total organ harvesting, Falun Gong evangelical Christian killing demon. Meeting today.
Administration should be, and your dad in particular.
Putin's no angel, but he is trying to get out
of this country.
The Bilderberg Rothschild group.
First, and quite frankly, that's his job as the president of the United States. We don't need to go out, and we don't need to be, the police force of the entire world at the behest of the American people. We don't need to fund all these various world initiatives at the behest of, again, the American people. Everybody can contribute in their own way, and we can work together in a great way. And if somebody fails,
and McMaster is trying to get us into more deeper war with Syria,
us giving up a leadership,
so that because he wants to protect Al Qaeda and ISIS, who are his babies. He's been funding through Obama in the last how many umpteen years that the U.S. have been arming and funding Al Qaeda since 1982, which has metastasized into ISIS and IS.
I mean, they literally wouldn't even bring a staircase. You remember when he showed up in China? They didn't even bring a staircase out to the plane. He had to come out through the, bottom entrance of Air Force One. I mean, look at that symbol. Then look at
Trump should not go to war in Syria.
Look at the reception he got with the white horses and the parades and all the people out there. Look at the reception.
His first sword dance.
Look at the reception he just got in Poland. And look at
he may tell Putin, hey, let's go after ISIS.
Because there have been maybe some digs at
McMaster will hate that.
He's not being soft on Russia right now, but when he comes face
the right
to
of
face
Republicans will hate
he
that.
does have the art of the deal and he has to negotiate. What will that be like?
Well, listen, I commend my father. It's really funny. If you go back to the campaign, he always said, what, I hope we can have a great relationship with Russia. They're one of the major powers of the world. I hope we can have it. I don't know if we can, but I hope. No one
because destroy Donald Trump media at all costs. Media, CNN, Criminal News Network is constantly attacking Donald Trump, saying that he's colluding with Russia when there's no evidence that he's colluded with Russia. And there's all this evidence now Obama and Hillary Clinton has colluded with Russia.
Right? Can we have a great relationship with Russia? I don't know. But at least he's willing to try. And I think he's going to learn very quickly. So you see all these people, should he sit down with Vladimir Putin? How could two major
He should have sat down with Putin from the beginning and not be intimidated by these total freakazoids who are trying to make up things about him when they have absolutely no proof. They had the FBI director come out and publicly say that he's not even under investigation for Russian collusion. There's no investigation. It doesn't exist. They are conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat-wearing liberal lunatics. CNN is a conspiracy news network.
Pay more, excuse me.
The Cannibal News Network, the Criminal News Network, and the Clinton News Network.
And by the way, there's no better negotiator in the world than my father. There's no tougher person in the world
Well, let's
than
see
my father.
let's see how it goes tomorrow. I know in the 4 o'clock hour. I don't know if you were up.
Look at this, and how
There
long
was
has it been where
precedent
Americans have
ability with
seen
our president and
their
the president of
sons
Poland.
and successful
one of the
sons
questions
and daughters
came up
praising their
was
fathers?
From
And a wife
whether or not
praising
the
her
president,
husband,
your father,
saying that it's an
accepted the fact
honor
that
to welcome
Russia
him.
meddled in the election. And he said, well, I think so, but I think other countries were involved as well.
How long
But
has
he
it
said,
been since
the
America's
bigger
seen that?
question is, why did the former president, Barack Obama, he was told by the CIA
Give me a break.
in August of last year that Russia was hacking or meddling in our election and did nothing. And he suggested, your father did, that because Obama and the Democrats figured Hillary was going to win, so they didn't want to touch anything.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how that works. And it's also really amazing how you, meaning as a station, and 3 of you are the only people who talk about that, how President Obama did absolutely nothing, albeit that he had confidential, classified, information.
Oh, come on,
briefings
Eric.
that
Give
were telling him that
InfoWars
they
and
were,
Breitbart and
apparently trying to meddle in the
Veritas,
election. So,
Project Veritas,
I
and
find
James
that very, very
O'Keefe
ironic
and
that no one wants to speak
Stefan
about
Molyneux,
that.
and give these dudes some credit, man. It's not only Fox News. Fox News has been taken over.
Intelligence to all these different bodies throughout Washington, and that's why when your dad goes to the day after the inaugural, all of a sudden he got this huge Russia story because the president pushed it out before he left.
Yet they weren't willing to look at a candidate who wasn't a good candidate, wasn't a compelling candidate, a party that had no message, a party that is now defunct, that has no real leadership. I mean, sometimes you have to look inside yourself and, look at your shortcomings and not just blame others. And, I look at this Russia story, and I've always said this, and I've said it to all of you, and I've said it on the show a million times, and I've said it on Fox a million times and every other station. But I mean, it is an absolute hoax. It is an absolute witch hunt.
It's a nothing burger in the words of Angel and CNN.
Derangement syndrome from the political left and in the mainstream media as well. And it's been fueled by the fact that there are certain people apparently still in government or aligned with the former president who are leaking stuff to the media to make your dad and his administration look bad so he can't get anything done.
Which is
Comey admitted that he leaked it to the media.
Directed to that story and to all this nonsense and garbage.
Which is a crime, by the way. It's a crime.
Directed to the fact that the Dow is at an all-time high, that the S&P 500 is at an all-time high, that the Russell 2000
What are you
is
talking
all-time
about? I haven't heard that.
And the fact, I mean, just, I ask everybody to do this. Open up your 401ks. Just open up your 401ks, look at where they were on election day versus where they are now. They're up 15, 20% in many cases.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible. This is money in people's pockets. You look at jobs are all-time low. You look at housing markets. You look at so many
But
different
there is a
things. I mean,
potential
go to
crash
Home Depot.
coming up in
Just simple tests. Go to Home
September.
Depot. Look at the lines.
Many
at Home
financial
Depot,
analysts
right?
are saying
We're thriving
Trump
as a nation.
should be
Everybody wants
honest.
to get focused on nonsense, on garbage, on distractions.
But you know
And-
why?
Right, this is
You know
also,
why?
there's a big shed sale at a Home
He's
Depot.
been
I did
given
notice
a
on Saturday.
huge
By the way, but I have to.
You were buying yourself
crashing
I was
plane.
thinking about doing it, but as long as they promise to
He
put it
can't just
together,
turn
I
around
wasn't sure about
magically.
that. But I would ask you
There
something.
is a
Do you
market
think that
correction
the
coming.
reason why your dad's lashed out at the media on some level is because in the past maybe 25 years, he's gotten to know a lot of these anchors, reporters, and news directors, and he's let down by the fact that he doesn't. Think
Okay,
he's
there you
getting
go. There's Eric Trump, honorable young man, on Fox and Friends. Now let's go to some of the other top news on Drudge. All eyes on Trump-Putin dynamics as they meet for the first time at the G20. Hamburg. Reuters is reporting U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are set to size each other in person for the first time on Friday on what promises to be the most highly anticipated meeting on the sidelines of the G20 summit. Trump has said he wants to find ways to work with Putin, a goal made more difficult by sharp differences over Russia's actions in Syria and Ukraine, and allegations Moscow meddled in 2016 presidential election pushed by the conspiracy theorist news network, CNN. That means every facial expression and physical gesture will be analyzed as much as any words the two leaders utter as the world tries to read how well Trump, a real estate magnate and former reality TV star, gets along with Putin, a former spy. The fear is that Republican president, a political novice, who's showing up to be a political genius, whose team is still developing its Russian policy, will be less prepared than Putin, who has dealt with the past two U.S. presidents, scores of other world leaders. Probably not. They'll probably just say, hey, we know that they're trying to destroy us. We know they're trying to set World War III, and so let's work together and make a lot of money together. They could do that. They could just decide, hey, we know CNN, MSNBC, and Rachel Maddow's trying to destroy us and try to spread disinformation because they're disinformation agents of the branch of the federal government. And run by Media Matters and, what's his name, David Brock. These kind of idiot fools And you know what? We know they're playing the game. We know they're trying to do that. Hey, let's just work together. Let's make a lot of money together. And let's make each other's countries rich. How's that? Sounds great. And let's not go to war. Sounds fantastic. They could do it. We pray that they do. There's nothing the Kremlin would like to see more than the U.S. president who will set up for a grip and grin and walk away saying that he had his family meeting with the Kremlin autocrat, Representative Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff? Give me a break. The googly-eyed, drooling, pedophile-looking little conspiracy theorist, head of the Security Council, Adam Schiff? House of Representatives Intelligence Committee? Give me a break. As investigations at home continue into whether there's any collusion between Trump's presidential campaign and Russia, there's no evidence for it all for now 4 or 5 months. No evidence. They've just been touting the same stupid line with no freaking evidence. Because they're commies and they believe that if you say one thing enough, you say it a million times, then people end up believing it. But nobody's believing it because nobody's watching CNN anymore and they're discrediting themselves more. The more they push this stupid narrative, which nobody's buying, the more they discredit themselves. They show that they are being whooped by Trump. Meme wars, baby. Oh! Pepe Le Pew is whooping their booties. Moscow's denied any interference with Trump, and Trump says his campaign did not collude with Russia. On Thursday, Trump won praise for at least one Republican hawk in the U.S. Congress after a speech in Warsaw, which he urged Representative stop his D-state. Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said Trump wanted to talk about how the two countries can work together in a stabilized, war-ravaged Syria. That's right, you can work together to destroy ISIS. How's that, huh? Stop trying to blame Syria and try to start World War III off of Syria and make Saudi Arabia happy. Why don't you go after ISIS, whom Saudi Arabia is funding? Huh? How's that? How about stop arming ISIS? Radical Islamic terrorists, stop arming them and stop letting them run free and destroy and take over countries. So that Saudi Arabia can pretend that it's doing good work from one angle and then another angle totally be funding the spread of radical Islam and Wahhabism. Give me a break. Trump is also grappling with a response to North Korea's successful test of an ICBM, which analysts say at long range enough to reach Alaska. Curbing Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions has been Trump's most pressing foreign policy priority, and he met with leaders from Japan and South Korea on Thursday evening to discuss it. He will also meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping at the G20. So many important meetings coming up today, folks. Stay tuned for the breaking news. Welcome to how G20 protesters start fires after a riot. Police hit them with water cannons and pepper sprays in clashes again ahead of Hamburg summit. Of course, because Antifa and George Soros want to destabilize everything and anything that Trump does, and Trump supporting and highlighting some of the European countries who are actually being responsible, paying 2% of the GDP to NATO and paying their fair share and not milking off of the U.S., like Germany, one of the biggest economies in the world. I mean, you have Poland, it's a much smaller economy, but they're paying their fair share because they're being honest and hardworking. And so, yes, he's not going to promote these stupid globalist political centralist powers, and he's going to say, hey, why don't we highlight some of these other countries who are not as highlighted, never get the stage, never get the spotlight, but hey, I want to highlight them because they're doing the right thing. And they're not proud of they're proud of their Christian values. And they don't want Islamic radical terrorism in their country. Give me a break. Well, no, we can't have that, so we want to send 100,000 protesters across Europe to pour into Hamburg and set that they place on fire so Trump can't get any more world media coverage highlighting responsible nations. There they are. So there's some of the pictures. Some of the leftist lunatic demonstrators. Some of the jet cannons after these people are setting things on fire. Welcome to Hell protest march. There's some of the riot police. What is it? Here's some more pictures of fires and Welcome to Hell protest rally in Hamburg with these leftist lunatics who don't even know what the heck they're rallying against or fighting for, other than the fact that they're being paid by George Soros and that they're in a cult of communism. There they go, burning down cars, breaking and shattering and destroying private property.
I think it's kind of a sport for them. They're just having fun.
Well, for them, it's a way to morally posture and pretend like they're doing a good thing, even though they're fighting for stealing and theft, and even though they're fighting for destroying people's lives and growing centralized power and being literal slaves of the centralized power, because they think that they want to be part of something in a big gang that they can be part of, and so they'll be somebody and they'll have an identity that'll be handed to them, and they'll be able to get centralized power and at least be something, and they'll get a little crumbs from the little super elites that will say, good job, you little peasants. This is how idiotic they are, but they'd rather have that than have to see honorable people succeed and honorable see people make business and entrepreneur and make tremendous dynasties. They don't want that. Look at these little leftist lunatics. So pathetic. But there we go, setting chaos in the G20, Hamburg. Protests are violent for Trump's maiden G20. George Clooney plans to move Amal and twins back to LA for security reasons.
So
but
where is he now?
He was in England.
He was in England,
But now he said it's too dangerous because of the speed of
dangerous.
terror attacks. Why is he being so racist, huh? Why? I thought he was the one who was supporting open borders.
Yes, yes.
Why is he coming back to America with strengthening borders? I thought he said he hated Trump and Trump is a bad, selfish narcissist, huh? Why is he coming back to the nation that's been run by bad, selfish narcissists with borders? Border control now being 75%, illegal crossings down. Clooney and these total moral posturing, fake, hypocrite, celebrity punks. We're sick of them. They're fakes. All they do is moral posturing and lecture us on how holy they are because they don't want to have any discrimination against, they don't want to have any amygdala function, they don't want to have any borders. Then he goes to the UK where there's terror attacks because they have no borders there now, effectively. And now he's scared and running away. I have to do it for the sake of my family, you stupid piece of trash. Lecturing everybody else about how bad they are, saying that we should have borders. And now you went to the UK with no borders and now you're scared, you little punk. We're sick of these little fake moral posturing punks. Make me sick.
Can he be covered by the travel ban?
What a pathetic idiot. Ban that idiot. Make him stay in Syria if he wants it so bad. Send him to Saudi Arabia with a one-way ticket. Piece of trash. Newsweek reports natural disaster 5.8 magnitude earthquake hits Montana, raising super volcano concerns. Public arrests teens after report of sex at Dennis Beach. Four teenagers charged with disorderly conduct when they were arrested at Mayflower Beach for having sex as the crowd cheered them on. It's literally become porno city where they are literally having sex and a crowd is around them drinking alcohol, pouring booze on them, cheering them on, and they just keep banging away on the freaking beach. This is how pathetic the young people have become in this country. They're pathetic. This is how they've devalued sexuality. To not be beautiful and holy, but to be orgiastic and of no value. Pathetic. Good, those idiots are arrested. WHO, World Health Organization, warns of imminent spread of untreatable superbug gonorrhea, which they will, of course, spread. Oil exports illegal for decades now fuel a Texas port boom. There we go. Oil exports oil exports. Hopefully we'll be able to drill for our own oil too and create an antithesis and competitor to Saudi Arabia. Hopefully we won't even buy from those fools anymore and harvest our own oil. Hopes of Trump bump for U.S. economy shrink as growth forecasts fade. There is probably a market correction coming up in September. That is true. Everything is awesome. Now is the time to sell, is what the Wall Street Journal says. We're in what's increasingly being called a Goldilocks economy. Not too hot, not too cold. I don't know about that. Wall Street Journal reports 2017 Ford GT, $450,000 road ticket. That's 2 cars in one. With a top speed of 216 miles per hour, the Ford GT is a race car that transforms into a road car with a press of a button. There you go.
We're going to drive 216 miles an hour.
It's just the idea of having the potential to do 200. And when there's a straightaway where there's no cops and you just get to feel that power go, that's what they do it for, okay? Even though I'm not a huge car buff. The Silicon Valley company wants to make better humans through biohacking. Boo, 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 boo. No, you can't. You humans, you stupid humans can't. You stupid techies can't make better humans, okay? God is better than you, you piece of trash. Give me a break making better humans. Sex robots condemned by furious Salvation Army. The Christian Church and Charity said so-called sex bots would have detrimental effects in increasing sex working. There you go. Summit of Love, Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump work hard and play harder as pair pack on the PDA during overseas trip. Ivanka Trump posted pictures of her and Jared Kushner walking through a park in Hamburg while holding hands at the G20 summit. On Thursday, we've landed in Germany. She made the mistake of posting a video of the photo while riots broke out on the streets of Hamburg outside the conference site. It was a second hand holding photo in as many days, with the first daughter previously sharing a PDA image of the pair on Wednesday from Poland. The two tend to keep distance from one another in the presence of photographers while back home in D.C., but are lovey-dovey and hand-holding on in other pictures. There they are holding hands. So it looks like it's been less of Jared and Ivanka as the problems in President Trump's White House, but more the problem with McMaster and his cohorts that have continued to start war with Syria, etc. CBO and OMB agree federal spending will top $4 trillion for the first time this year. And our final report, alligator seen chewing on a dead body in the Everglades. What a crazy, crazy day, folks. Thank you for joining us today on this edition, Friday edition of July 7th, 2017 of the King's Report. It's a crazy day, folks. Today's a big day with big meetings coming with Xi Jinping, Putin, Merkel, etc. Trump is leading the way on the macrocosmic level, standing up for sovereignty, highlighting the countries who are standing for sovereignty and to break away from the EU and Bilderberg Group and the Soviet-style communist unelected bureaucratic bloc regulating your country from another country. Total insanity. And he's highlighting places like the Czech Republic, like Poland, like Eastern Europe, that is saying, hey, we want sovereignty, we want borders, hey, we want national identity, we want people to trade freely, we want to be able to have our own currency, we want to be able to arm our people, we want to be able to be a strong front against evil. And that is a good thing. In the future, our new technical Constitution booklets have come out, small little booklets. Do we have one of those for show? Real quick. But in any case, get yours today. Carry with you all over the place. I got one in my survival bag, got one in my shirt, got one in my car, got one with the Queen. They are small, they are easy to carry. You can read your Constitution. And what's amazing, you could have a future Poland Czechniku. You could have a future Czech Republic Czechniku. They would maintain their national identity. They would maintain their history and tradition. They would be under the protection of the Czechniku Constitution and 3 kingships and the kingdom of God. There it is. Thank you, Tim. Here we go. Here's our small little version. Czechniku Constitution now in a small form, and now that's available to carry with you at all times. Be a patriot of Chanilguk. Carry this in. A nice little introduction. Introducing the Constitution of the United States of America was founded on Christian principles. One of our founding fathers, Patrick Henry, clearly made this point when he said it cannot be emphasized too strongly that this great nation was founded not by religions but by Christians. Not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. For this very reason, peoples of other faith have been afforded asylum, prosperity, and freedom of worship here. Furthermore, the Declaration of Independence declares that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator in certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Among the rights outlined in the U.S. Constitution is the protection from the government establishing a religion or from prohibiting the free exercise thereof. In other words, these documents are supposed to protect the God-given rights of all people, including Christians, to the free exercise of their religion and protection from governmental overreach. However, in recent decades, our government and the resulting culture have rejected God and Christ in almost all areas of public life. The elimination of prayer in schools, removal of the Ten Commandments in public spaces, the murder of children by abortion, the legalization of gay marriage, all examples of grave offenses committed against God. How can we sit idly by while the forces of evil and darkness take away our freedoms and create a base to enslave future generations? As Christians, we have a responsibility to correct these problems. Jesus exhorted us to seek his kingdom first and his righteousness in Matthew 6:33, and to pray for God's kingdom to come on earth as it is in heaven, Matthew 6:9 through 13. God never intended us to live in defeat. He destined us to rule from the very beginning. In fact, God declared that he made us in his very image, creating Adam and Eve to rule the earth on his behalf. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it. God also provided with freedom, creativity, and unique qualifications to fulfill his purpose and calling to each one of us. Now, with the victory that Jesus won over Satan on our behalf, we must do our part in the battle for the establishment of God's kingdom on earth. For as it says in Ephesians 6:12, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against rulers of darkness of the world, and spiritual wickedness in high places. In the Garden of Eden, the archangel Lucifer, a servant of God, seduced Eve and sabotaged God's plan for his children to rule over his kingdom. We are faced with a similar challenge today with our government, which should be working to serve the people. However, it has overreached its authority and now seeks to rule over the people it is supposed to serve and protect. This is for the whole world. One man sent by God to establish his kingdom in this modern age is the Reverend Sun Myung Moon. At the age of 16, Jesus appeared to him and called him to help complete his work. In accepting this call, he gave his entire life to promote freedom and liberty and to expose the dangers of communism. He promoted God-centered marriage and family values as the foundation for God's kingdom on earth. The revelation from God, based on the Holy Scriptures, he left behind the exposition of the divine principle as the central teaching of the canonized 8 great textbooks. We encourage you to read and study them for yourself. See www.christkingdomgospel.org. His work has been passed down to his youngest son, Hyungjin Moon, who follows the directives of his father to create a constitution for a nation based on Christian principles of faith, freedom, and family. However, unlike the U.S. Constitution, which has become vulnerable to government tyranny by its overreach, by limiting the free exercise of religion in public life as well as through the amendment process, this new Constitution restores the government to its proper role as servant of the people. Originally intended by our founders, it will set free the power of the Holy Spirit to rule and reign through every couple and family who have been set free and called to exercise their responsibility and their God-given sovereignty to build together with God his kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. America must return to the true founding spirit of the nation. The ideals were the ancestors sought to establish with sweat and blood. America must return to Godism, an absolutely God-centered ideology. Reverend Sun Myung Moon, God's Hope for America, June 1st, 1976. That is the introduction. And of course, it goes on to the outline of the Constitution of the United States of Chanilguk.
Not the outline, but the full text.
I'm sorry, not outline. The full text. And of course, look at this. It fits right in your pocket, boom. Right in your breast pocket, disappears. You carry with you, practice your patriotism to the kingdom of God, and pray for each of the nations to be one day be Poland, Chanilguk. We'll have Denmark, Chanilguk. We'll have Europe, England, Chanilguk. U.S. Chanilguk. You have China, Chanilguk. North Korea, Chanilguk. Cambodia, Chanilguk. Every nation of the world will eventually come under God's kingdom and be a part of the kingdom of God, where forever the archangel is put in his proper place as a servant of the sovereigns, kings and queens, who stand with the King of Kings and his kingship in the kingdom of God that is finally coming to this world. We thank you for joining us today on the King's Report. Stay with us, and we'll see you next time tomorrow with Tim Elder.
Yes.
On the King's Report 5 a.m. sharp. God bless, Godspeed, and may His kingdom come. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Father.